Guys, in this video, I'm going to share with you what being a bouncer actually taught me about single mothers. And guys, I'm not going to hold back. Not only am I going to share with you guys what I learned as a bouncer, but also in my own personal life so that you don't make the same mistakes that I did and waste years of your life. And yeah, this video might offend some people, you know what I'm saying? People might not like this video, but everything that I'm going to talk about in this video are facts, they're truth, and they're experience that I not only saw, but lived myself. Okay, things that I've never shared before. So point number one that I'm going to make in this video is single mothers are single for a reason. Okay, now I've heard people say this before and I never really understood what that meant, right? Because maybe they just got cheated on, or right, I never really understood what single mothers are single for a reason meant until I started to actually get involved with one. But one thing that I would notice, guys, in the clubs was that a lot of the regulars, they actually had kids. So what I mean was, like, a lot of the women that I would see on a regular basis, like, they actually had kids. And in my head, I would always wonder, like, why does this chick who has a kid, why is she always in the club? Like, shouldn't she be home with her kids? Like, what is she doing here? Like, what the fuck? But it was never like a big question for me because I never had any sort of relationship or involvement with a single mom, right? So it was just a question that never made sense to me. And I always kind of looked at them a little weird, right? But it wasn't until I got involved in a relationship with a single mom that I actually gained a whole different perspective of the situation, right? So um, I was bouncing, and this was when I moved down to South Carolina. I was bouncing and I met this chick, right? This chick had great energy, or so I thought, right? She was very happy, outgoing. She had a good, fun vibe. So we ended up exchanging numbers, right? I met her when I was bouncing. And the important thing is that I quickly found out that she actually had a daughter. You know what I'm saying? Now, the thing about it was I was highly attracted to this chick. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, you know what? She has a kid. I've never been in this position before, and I don't even want kids, right? Because I've never really had that interest of having kids. So in my head, I was like, all right, look, I'm not interested in having kids. You know what I'm saying? The risk is too fucking high. So if I have to, you know what I'm saying, help her with her kid, I don't see that as a problem because I don't really want kids of my own, right? So I almost saw it as like a win-win, as stupid as that sounds, right? Because I didn't understand a lot of things, right? I almost saw it as a win-win. So I was like, all right, whatever. If I have to help raise her kid, that's fine because I don't want a kid of my own. So at least I'm doing something for society and I'm helping raise a kid with a father masculine figure, or so I thought. Okay, so I ended up going out with this chick, and I quickly realized that this was one of those chicks that would be out in the club every week. Okay, and it was like the second time I hung out with her. And I asked her, hey, like, where's your kid at? You know, like, where's your kid at? And she told me, oh no, she's with my mom. And as soon as she told me that, I already started to think, I don't want a kid with this chick. Mind you, I never wanted a kid in the first place, right? But I already knew in my head, like, this chick is recreational use only. Okay. She's leaving her kid at the house while she's going to shake ass, drink, and club. Not only once every so now and then, but every fucking week. Okay. So I already knew, like, all right, let me proceed with caution, right? The more I got to know this chick, the more red flags that I began to see. Okay. But since I was so pussy whipped, essentially, by the fact that this chick looked pretty good and has such a good energy and vibe, I kept going deeper and deeper into the situation. One thing that caught my attention, guys, was that this chick would be buying bottles, right? Maybe every other week she'd buy a bottle, right? Like a Don Julio's, or like a fucking, it was Don Julio's, right? And also, she would actually buy me drinks every so now and then. Now, at the time, guys, I was working as a barber and I was just starting my barbering career. So, like, I remember having to check my bank account every time that I would go out because I didn't even have that much money to buy drinks. And there were a couple of occasions where she would buy me drinks, right? So, in my head, I was like, damn, like, I guess this chick got some money, right? I guess this chick got some money. And I'm not going to say her occupation here because I don't want people to know who I'm talking about, right? So, what I ended up realizing, guys, was that this chick was essentially broke. Like, this chick was essentially living some sort of paycheck to paycheck life. And the reason I found out about this was because she would always complain about the fact that her baby father is very stingy. He doesn't send me enough money. He doesn't help me out with the kid. He doesn't want to contribute enough money. But meanwhile, this chick was out here literally buying drinks for me, okay, buying bottles and going to the club every week, okay. And that already made me realize, like, yo, thank God her baby daddy doesn't send her a lot of money because look what she's fucking doing with it. And guys, I literally realized that the drinks she would buy me was literally with the money of her fucking baby father. Guys, picture this. Child support money that a lot of these dads pay these single moms. This fucking single mom was out here in the clubs buying liquor, buying me drinks, buying bottles to then complain to her baby father and tell him, yo, you're not sending me enough money. I need more help with the kid. You know what I'm saying? So this is what made me realize, yo, single mothers are single for a fucking reason. Okay. That's the first point that I realized. And seeing this from the inside perspective made me realize, like, yo, I'm going to just treat her as recreational use only. But what happened was, guys, I ended up getting involved in a situation, actually developing a relationship with a child. And I'm going to get into that later. Okay. But bottom line, she was essentially buying me drinks, spending the money that her baby father would send her in the clubs and to buy me drinks and to buy bottles. Okay. And one time, she actually didn't have enough money to pay rent to the point where her electricity got shut off. Right. And at this point, this is when I realized, like, yo, something's really fucking off. Something's really off. You know what I'm saying? But at that point, I was so involved in the relationship with her and her kid that I wanted to be a savior to her kid. Yeah, I saw her struggling because of her own decisions, and I wanted to be there for the kid, which I'm gonna go into later. But bottom line, guys, a lot of these single moms, they live in this real reality where they prioritize themselves over their kid. Guys, if their kid was a priority, they never would have left their baby daddy. They would have sucked their own pride. They would have worked things out with the father just because their kid is their priority. And they would have wanted their kid to have a strong father figure or have a father figure. But since they're their own priority, whether that's because they're out clubbing or their ego is their own priority, that they can't just swallow their pride and just work things out with the baby father, they're single mothers. And I really legitimately realized how deep this shit goes once I got into the relationship, as I'm going to go further in later. So point number one, a lot of these chicks in the clubs that were regulars, they were single mothers, and they're single because they prioritize themselves over their fucking kid. Okay. Point number two, okay, is that single women, single mothers, they use their kids as a guilt and shame tool. I don't know if any of you guys have played chess before, right? But you know the pawn, the piece that you just throw in the board and just give it up because it's not worth shit and you just want to kind of strategize your way into position. Yeah. A lot of these single moms use their kids as a pawn. And if you guys are baby daddies, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So guys, once I got into a relationship, into a deeper sense with this situation that was going on, I ended up developing a connection with this kid. Kid was great. She was amazing. To be honest, zero complaints. Kid was amazing, right? And I ended up actually caring for this kid. And when things would happen in the relationship where I would like just disconnect and just cut off, the kid would suddenly start to call my phone out of nowhere. This kid all of a sudden was actually calling my phone, which, guys, in the past, that wouldn't happen, right? So every time when we would break up, this kid would actually call my phone and ask me, like, hey, what are you doing? Or like, where are you going? Right. And this is when I realized how dirty the manipulation tricks are. Because if she's using her kid to fucking call me and to manipulate me into feeling bad, imagine how that baby mother or how single mothers use their kids against their baby fathers, which I saw in real time, which I'm not even going to get into. Okay. But bottom line is, a lot of single mothers, they use their kids as fucking pawns on a chessboard. They'll use them to fucking manipulate you. And that's exactly what I experienced. Like, this chick would literally have her kid text me like, hey, where are you doing? Or I miss you, even though the kid would never do that previously. And that's when I realized, like, damn, over time, I realized like she was using her kid, which was like 9 or 10 at the time, to actually like guilt me into going back with her. You know what I'm saying? And since I was so invested in that kid's life, like I actually wanted to help that kid out. I want to see that kid have a masculine figure and all this type of shit that I don't even believe in anymore, because I'll get into it later. But yeah, single mothers, they use their kids as pawns. You know, if there's somebody watching this video and they're like, "Oh, that's not all single mothers. That is 95% of single mothers." I'll let the baby daddies in the comment section comment. You know what I'm saying? But bottom line, a lot of these single mothers use their kids as pawn and as leverage tools. You know what I'm saying? Think about how twisted that is, right? So point number 3 that I want to go into, which is actually very important for you guys to understand, is that single mothers don't care how much you do for their kids. Single mothers do not care how much money you spend on their kids, how much time you invest in their kids. They will literally cut you off and never say thank you, not give a fuck, and not recognize your effort and not honor it whatsoever. And the moment I realized this, guys, this was a distinct moment that I realized this. We were in Target one time, okay? And she had just gotten out of work. So she was with her daughter. We met up at Target. She was doing some grocery shopping. I came along. And I remember distinctly how she was ringing her items. I think the total was about $95. Okay. And I remember at this time I was struggling with money, right? But since I wanted to be, Captain Save a Single Mother, I decided to pay for her groceries, right? Um, and guys, my bank account, I remember, literally went negative to pay this fucking grocery bill. I literally was giving this woman all that I had, like all that I had, giving it, right? And 2 days later, I remember we had a disagreement where we literally like broke off. And I remember telling her like, yo, like you literally don't value anything I do for you or your daughter. And I remember her telling me this distinctly, guys. She said, I never asked you to do that anyways. I never asked you to do that anyways. And that moment was the moment that I realized, bro, you can be with the best of intentions with single mothers. You can be trying to like help them and help their kids. But at the end of the day, they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. And they're going to tell you, I never asked for you to do any of that anyways. Because at the end of the day, guys, the reason that they're single mothers is because they didn't give a fuck being single mothers. They chose to be single mothers, right? So if you think that they need you or that you're adding some help to their life, they're not going to value that shit, because the fact that they're single mothers is a choice because they chose to not work things out with their baby father, okay? I feel like the only situation that it makes sense would be if the baby father's a complete deadbeat and he disappeared and she's never heard from him, right? But in these situations where the baby daddy's either involved or things were just broken off because of a situation, guys, she chose to be a single fucking mother. She chose to raise that kid by herself. So you coming into her life and trying to add value and pay for her bills and help her, she's not going to value that shit. She's not going to value, she didn't even value being with the father of her child. You think she's going to value being with fucking you? And investing so much time and energy into this relationship, into this kid, made me realize, like, bro, this woman does not value anything. She literally told me, I never asked for you to do any of this anyways, right? And guys, the reason I'm telling you guys these stories is so you guys can realize the mindset of a lot of these single moms. You know what I'm saying? This was the reality that I experienced. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, guys, like I've heard stories like this before. You know what I'm saying? I've heard countless stories like this before over and over again, but they never meant anything to me because I had never gone through it. I never thought it was real. But guys, this shit is real. When a woman is a single mother, it's a choice that she actually made because she chose to not swallow her ego and just work things out with her baby father, or she chose to value her thought life over raising the kid with her baby father. And so you're putting yourself in a position where this chick is not going to value anything that you do. You're building a connection with the kid that's going to be taken from you 1 minute to the next, and she's not going to value anything that you did for her or her kid. And that was the reality that I lived. And guys, I'm not a bad looking dude. I'm 6'2". You know what I'm saying? I take care of myself. So I was still putting up with this kind of bullshit, even as a dude like myself. So this is a learning opportunity for you guys that are either meeting chicks in the clubs that are single moms or they're meeting single moms, period. I don't recommend anybody to date a single mom because they're not going to value anything you do. You're going to put yourself in a position where you're investing into this relationship with a kid who at the end of the day, the mom kid gives two fucks about, okay? And also, they're going to use that kid as a piece on a chessboard. You know what I'm saying? So guys, this is the reality about single mothers, man. The bottom line, guys, single mothers are single for a reason. Do not invest your time into a relationship with them. You're going to spend energy, time, investment into a kid and into a relationship that she doesn't even value and she doesn't even care about because she chose to be single. And if there's any single moms watching this shit, I'm here to tell y'all this. The fact that you're a single mom 95% of the time is because of a choice. It's because you chose to do that. You could have worked things out with the baby father if you valued raising your kids together, but you valued your ego above lowering it and just swallowing it and just taking the humble pie for your kids. Or maybe you're just a single mom. For example, in the case of this chick, she was just out in the streets, prioritizing herself over her kids. So bottom line, let me know what you guys thought about the video, man. I don't know how many views this is going to get. This video might get some hate, but guys, this is what I learned about single mothers. Everything that they say about single mothers is fucking true. And yeah, I don't recommend anybody getting into any relationship with a single mom. And after that experience, I don't even want to have kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, guys, the risk is so high to have a kid with the wrong woman. She's going to be raising that kid the wrong fucking way, teaching that kid the wrong fucking values. You know what I'm saying? She's going to be then trying to take your money and then misusing that shit. You know what I'm saying? There's just so so many negatives to having a kid with the wrong woman in 2026 that I've decided to not have fucking kids. You know what I'm saying? Some of you guys might think that's gay. I don't give a shit. Having kids, I think, is great for the old school people or the people that want to have kids. If you want to do that, that's great. I think that's super respectable. We need families in 2026. But for Huncho and for the guys that follow me personally, my personal view is I'm not having kids because the risk is just too fucking high nowadays. You know what I'm saying? They have too much leverage over you. They're going to use that kid. And there's too much risk in having a kid with the wrong woman. You know what I'm saying? So, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys thought. Southpaw Huncho, checking out. Peace.